Hey guys, this is Lana at independentlyhappykids.wordpress.com. Still trying to get that changed. Um, Please excuse the sounds you might hear in the background. That is actually our ferret. She's out right now and she has a tendency to get into everything. So if you hear, sounds like the house is being torn apart in the background, it's just the ferret. Um, so it's been a while since I shot a video, and I would say I'm a little off my game. I'm actually kind of nervous shooting this video because I haven't done it in a while. I've been spending a lot of my time trying to actually speak face to face with people, which has also been a challenge for me as a natural introvert. But believe it or not, it's almost harder to talk to a camera than it is to talk to actual people. So anyhow, I wanted to share something that happened the other day that I thought was. I think she's about to dump something off the table. I wanted to share something that happened the other day while I was at the grocery store, and it kind of sparked some thought, and I started thinking about how it really related to life. Basically, there was a family behind me in line. There was a little girl. She looked like she was maybe 4 in the cart, and she wanted some things, apparently, as most 4-year-olds do when you're at the store. I say I was at the grocery store. I was actually at Walmart, which I don't even do my grocery shopping there, but I try to avoid it like the plague. Isn't that terrible? But sometimes you gotta go into Walmart. So that's where I was, and as most little kids do in Walmart, they see lots of things they want and they ask for them, and sometimes they beg for them, and sometimes they throw fits for them. Now this little girl was not throwing a fit at all. She was great. She was just voicing that she wanted these things. And both of her parents were with her, and they were explaining to her that she couldn't have this, she couldn't have that, and she kept saying, "Please, mommy, I really want this thing," and they were not big things, what I'm saying? It was like she wanted like a little doll, and then there was, I don't even remember what all it was, but I remember it was small things. Like, it wasn't stuff that cost a lot of money. Maybe like a $5 Barbie doll, or but one of the things that her parents told her was, "Look, you can't. We bought you a toy just a few days ago. We bought you a Barbie just a few days ago, and do you really want this other thing?" Which I think, like, seriously costs like a few bucks. And she said, "Well, then I'll just return your Barbie so that we can come back tomorrow and buy this other thing." And the little girl was like, "No, I still want my Barbie." And she said, "Well, I'm sorry, but you can't have both. You can't have it all." And these parents were just, I don't think they were trying to be ugly to her. I think they had good intentions, but what they were trying to get across to her was that she couldn't have both things. She couldn't have all those things she wanted. She couldn't have all of them. That she had to pick, that it was either one or the other. Well, this little girl, of course, looked very, this little girl, of course, looked, very sad, and disappointed. And the father threw in there, like right at the end before, discussion was over, you're just going to have to get used to this in life. You can't have everything you want. And of course, I'm right in front of them, so I hear the entire conversation. And then it was pretty much over after that. And the little girl just left it alone. So she wasn't throwing a temper tantrum or anything like that. But, I started thinking, like, they're not the only ones who do that. In fact, like, I used to think that way. That you can't have it all. That you can't have everything you want. Let's put that. I don't want to say you can't have it all, because not everyone wants everything. You know what I mean? Like, you have certain things that you want. But I kind of grew up believing I couldn't have everything I wanted, that it wasn't possible. And so I needed to just get used to, settling for certain things. that if I wanted this thing over here, I was going to have to sacrifice something over here. And if I wanted this thing over here, then I would have to sacrifice this thing over here. That I couldn't have both. And really, I feel like we kind of train our children just like these parents were training this little girl. If you want this little $5 toy, then we need to return the other $5 toy. Now, it may have been a situation where they were looking at it from the viewpoint of, well, look, we're hard pressed for cash. We don't have the money. We can't afford to just buy you something every time you say you want it. I definitely don't think that you should spoil a child and buy them everything they want. However, there's kind of a fine line there. So I think it is a teaching opportunity for kids, that instead of teaching the kids, which this is actually, it is what I do with my own. It's not what I've always done with my own, but it's what I've learned I should do with my own children. And so I've been applying this for the last couple of years, that rather than telling them you can't have both and then doing that over and over and over, instead I've taken a totally different approach, and I've said, okay, this is what you say you want. Let's figure out together how you can have the things that you want. You say you want the $5 Barbie. Okay, it's $5. Sometimes, as a parent, you're like, okay, I can buy that $5 Barbie for my child. Sometimes we save it for birthdays, sometimes we save it for Christmas, and sometimes it's just a random thing where we go, okay, it's only $5. I don't buy things for you all the time. I don't spoil you. So today, you were great today, or you did really good, had really good grades today in school, or you just, your behavior was so great today at wherever we were. I'm going to reward you with this $5 Barbie or this $5 truck or whatever it is that they say they want. And I think that's okay. However, if they say, oh, but there's these other things I want, which of course all kids are going to do that, right? They're going to walk through Walmart or Toys R Us or wherever, and they're going to point to numerous things on the shelf. I want this, and I want this, and I want this, and I want this. And instead of telling them, I'm sorry, you can't pick one because you can't have it all, a better way to approach it would be to say, okay, we can't have all of them right now, but it is possible for you to have those things. But let's come up with a game plan on how we can achieve all those things without mom or dad having to continually fork over money. It's one of the reasons why I started teaching my kids entrepreneurship, which is something that my husband and I are, firmly believe in. And, I wanted them to start learning very early the principles of that. So I wanted them to get to the point where if they said, I want something, which my daughter recently said she wants her own iPad. Mom, I don't want to have to borrow yours whenever I do some of my games or whatever, because I have a ton of educational games on my iPad, but it's still my iPad. So they don't play with it unless they get permission from me. So she says, well, Mom, I want my own iPad. And I said, okay, well, buy your own iPad. And she's looking at me like, okay, well, how much is an iPad? I said, well, we could probably get you a refurbished one for maybe $450, maybe. But, she's like, she's shocked. She's like, how am I going to come up with $450? She knows how much that is. She knows it's a lot of money. So we started seeing how, okay, look, if we could, what kind of businesses can we do? What kind of things can we do for you to earn some money? And she came up with the idea of a couple different business opportunities, like us making things and having some booths and selling stuff. And we looked at, we started game planning and thinking of, well, if we spent, what's the least amount of money we can spend, and buy a lot of things in bulk, and then create something that takes very little of our time, but is something that's very valuable to consumers. And therefore we can sell it still cheap because it didn't cost us hardly anything or hardly any time to make it. So we can still sell it for cheap, but we can still make a huge profit. So we started thinking along these lines. And most parents don't do that with their children. What do they just say? Every time they're at the store, you can't have that, you can't have that, you can't have that. Well, in a parent's mind, we don't mean you can't ever have it, but that's what we say. And so the problem is that with children, they hear that repeatedly. Every time they go in the store, I want that, you can't have that. I want that, you can't have that. I want that, you can't have that. So what we do is we train them to believe that what you want, you can't have. You can't have it. Instead of being very clear about our words and our intentions and saying, you can't have it right now, but you can have it. If you want it, you can have it. But let's figure out some way that you can work for the money to buy it. Okay, so, you know, it was just something that came to me and something I wanted to share because I really think that's a big deal. I think that's a huge deal because we're programmed by everything that goes into our minds as we're growing up, and especially between the ages of, you know, from the time we're born up until about 6 or 7 years old. Kids are literally sponges, and they're sponges because their brain functions on the alpha level frequency normally, which is what adults have when adults are hypnotized or meditating, reaching those subconscious parts of their mind, they're functioning at that level. Well, children naturally function at that level. So think about that. Everything that's happening to them is going directly into their subconscious mind. Directly. So it's programming them, literally everything. And they don't even have to consciously like be aware of it. It's literally just everything that's around, that's constantly around. So you really have to consider what kind of environment they're in naturally, things that they're hearing on a regular basis, shows they're watching on a regular basis. What are those shows teaching them? What kind of things are they hearing from their parents? You know, we have the best intention as parents, right? We want the very best for our children because we love them. But sometimes we don't think really about what it is we're saying to them, what that's really causing their subconscious mind to embrace, what belief that is forming in the inner conscious parts of their mind. You can't have that. No, you can't have that. No, you can't have that. So hearing no over and over and over, and you can't have that over and over and over, that creates a belief. That creates a belief. And that belief turns into an adult like me who believes, I can't have everything I want. I can't have everything I want. I'm going to have to choose. I'm going to have to sacrifice this thing over here that I want in order to get this thing over here that I want. The reality is it's not true. And if you want both things, you can have both things. You just have to figure out a way. Maybe you can't have them at the same time, but you can come up with a plan and you can come up with a way to learn how to achieve both, to learn how to get all the things that your heart truly desires. So we really need to be teaching our children that and make sure that the things that they are hearing constantly and consistently are things that empower them to chase those things that they want. Go after them. Don't just go, well, not going to get it. Mom and dad say, I can't have both. So, you know, I'm just going to settle. And that's what causes the majority to accept the reality of mediocrity and then put on a mask of, I love my life, I love my life. It's not that you're not happy, but most of us do want more, but we don't believe that we're capable of having more. We believe we can't have everything we want because, well, after all, we grew up being told you can't have it all. You can't have everything you want. So just think about that, and maybe when you're talking to your kids in the store, be more consciously aware of what it is you're saying to them when they voice that they want something, and come up with a game plan. Help them really brainstorm and write these things down. It's really good for them. Write these things down of how you can work to achieve them. If you want something, let's sit down with them. Let's put our heads together. Let's figure something out. And mom and dad will help you figure something out. And then we'll attack it together so that you can have all the things you want. So give it some thought, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Hope you have a great day.